You're fine. You're fine. I got yeah. We did. Oh, you how are you doing?
Eventually, I should figure it out. See, in last year, that's very acceptable.
Would you like to, do you want to add a senator report?
This year, I should not.
Would you like to make, during the consent agenda, make the motion to add, add a senator report for you? And hypothetically, somebody should be last year. You'll just say, when we get to consent agenda, like,
So this year, though?
any dissent, any dissent, any dissent.
Once homecoming's done, I don't know nothing about it. I'm so okay with that.
Yep. You just make the motion saying, I wish to add a second senator report, under senator reports, senator report for your name, Edward, Senator Edward, sorry, how do you pronounce your last name? I didn't want to assume, sorry, saying like add a senator report for Senator Jedway, senator report, and then I would ask for a second, there's a second, then Senator, then I would seek for any dissent, and dissent your report to be added. You were in the student affairs committee talking about this week last week. Yeah. And the student affairs committee. If you weren't there, that's okay. Talk to Nikki for a little bit of clarification on that. It's been brought up, and you know, we're fully supportive of this. So maybe reserve that discussion so you get a chance to talk to us and talk to your coordinator, and then bring it up next week. Otherwise, we can still bring it up. Talk about it. Oh, you were full service. Okay. Yeah, full. Okay. You know what I also know? I didn't know if you did service. Everybody? Yeah, let's do that.
There you go. It's yours. Just so you know.
Yes, okay, so you're over. Robert has it. You'll just say next slide.
Just like from this guy.
Really?
Yeah.
How we make
Dean Corley.
Yeah.
In the future, if you do have slides in advance, make sure to send it to me because I send them off. So it made a few extra steps along the way. Oh, it's all good. It got to where it needed to be.
We appreciate it. Thank you.
We're having some discussions about that space. Could take a bit, but it's nothing beyond. So sustainability.
Really wondering if I was all
Yeah, definitely.
Yep, those are resolutions.
Oh, did he not give access?
Yeah.
Okay. Did he?
We need you to give access to the presentation. Okay, can you send it to Robert with full access? Yes, I can. Thank you.
I'm using your phone as a timer again.
That's fine.
I love it.
So you pay every single time?
Does he have show structure? Not my name. I wrote it no structure.
Very good. Well, I'm excited then. You guys
Still got admitted, friends. How are we all doing now?
Awesome. How about you?
All right.
Are you excited for a week off? Well, like you're getting.
Hold on. I'll explain that in a bit too.
Explain that during your officer report, yeah.
Yeah.
excited about the cold weather.
No. I call us to order at 4 p.m. on the dot. And we will begin with roll call. Senator Hart.
Here.
Senator Hinton.
Here.
Senator Kissam.
Here.
Senator Frawley. Senator Frawley. Senator Ali.
Here.
Senator Sharaf. Senator Sharaf. Senator Woldakainen. Senator Woldakainen. Senator Ziti. Senator Nguyen. Senator Brandt.
Here.
Senator Maega.
Here.
Senator Kansa.
Here.
Senator Goma. Senator Mohammed.
Here.
Senator Aladeji.
Here.
Senator Lystico.
Here.
Senator Andy. Senator Andy. Senator Dietrich.
Here.
Senator Revere. Senator Revere. Senator Godswell. Senator Godswell. Senator Bahanu. Senator Bahanu. Senator Akriti.
Here.
Senator Jagwe. Senator Parikh.
Here.
Senator Narala.
Present.
Senator Speltz.
Here.
Senator Beckerman.
Here.
Senator Colleran.
Here.
Senator Poppenhagen.
Here.
Speaker Roberts here. President Royker.
Here.
Vice President Mesta.
Here.
Alrighty, we will proceed onwards to the consent agenda. Is there any dissent to the consent agenda? Any dissent? Any dissent? Any dissent? Seeing none, the consent agenda is adopted. Going on to approval of the minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
I motion.
There's a motion. Is there a second? Seeing a second. Is there any dissent? Any dissent? Seeing no dissent, the minutes are approved. We'll go on to presentations, starting off with Senator Parikh with cybersecurity for a period of 15 minutes.
I'll take 2.
2? Yeah, perfect.
Okay, perfect. So, hello everyone. This is October, and October is the National Cybersecurity Awareness Month. So I'm just here from IT Solutions just to give a bit of awareness. Can we please go on the second slide? Okay, so did you know there's 71.1 million people who fall victim to cyber crimes? So please stay cyber aware. During COVID, there's been 6 million % increase in the cyber crimes around us. So please stay cyber aware. And how I'm going to tell you next. Can I please have the next slide? Okay, perfect. So just to make it easier for us, we have 4 Ps. Phishing. Phishing is like a phishing where you have different types of food, where you have different type of fishes. That means we have different type of emails, we have different type of messages. So please make sure that you know which one is valid, which one is invalid. Patching, make sure your softwares are updated, make sure you have tabs on your apps. Passwords, please make sure that your passwords are 12 words. Use numbers, use symbols, use digits. And finally, protect your devices. Make sure that you have a protective screening service on your laptop, and if you are on MNSU services, you are already protected by IT Solutions, and our Wi-Fi is Eduroam, so we are pretty much protected. But we have the Cybersecurity Awareness Month so that we can all stay cyber aware, and that's all I have. Thank you so much.
Are there any questions for Senator Parikh? Any questions? Any questions? Thank you so much, Senator Parikh. We will proceed onwards to the YMCA presentation for a period not to exceed 15 minutes.
Take about 5. Okay, thank you so much for having us. My name is Allison Braswell. This is Chris Page, and we're with the Brother Sister program at the YMCA here in Mankato. And we just want to talk with you about some opportunities to volunteer mentor with us. We are always looking for mentors, this year especially so. We have a really good relationship with MSU and MSU students. We found that it's mutually beneficial for both our program and for you as students to be a part of our program. So I will have Chris hand these little inserts out, and then just a few brochures. But you can also go on the YMCA, Mankato YMCA website. There's also a QR code on each of those handouts for you to use. So you can go on there and see what programs we have available, the qualifications for each of them, and the time commitment and that sort of stuff. So I will just give you a brief overview today, and then feel free to share with any students that you come in contact with, or for you if you're looking for a volunteer opportunity. So within the Brother Sister program, we have 3 volunteer opportunities, each with their own level of commitment. The first one is the Pen Pal program. That's the least amount of time commitment. We started that program during COVID just because we couldn't have those one-on-one interactions, and it's become really popular. That one figures out to be 1 hour once a month, and you're just writing a letter with an area youth in Mankato. So our relationship is with Mankato youth from ages 6 to 15 approximately, and we work with all the schools in the district and just with all the youth that go to the Mankato schools. So that Pen Pal program, you write a letter once a month. It's through a letter generator on our website. You never get to meet the youth that you're matched with, but it is the same youth the whole school year. And each month there's kind of a different prompt for you to write about. The second level of commitment is our school-based program. That one is where you go to the youth school. So like I said before, it's any of the elementary schools and middle school or high schools in town. We work a lot with MSU students, so if you don't have a vehicle, we work with Rosa Parks and with Jefferson. They're within walking distance of the university. It's any time between 11 o'clock to 1 p.m. on any day of the week. You go for 1 hour once a week and meet with the same youth. You can play games, do a craft, talk. Really, our program is about relationship building. We're not necessarily tutoring or anything like that. You can certainly help your youth with homework and stuff like that, but it's more about relationship building and building confidence within the youth that you're matched with. They're kids that should just show a need for having some positive role models in their life. School-based would then last throughout the school year, and we're matching for that program right up until about March of the 2024. So if you find that right now you don't have time to do it, look us up next semester too. And the same can be said for our community-based program, and that's the third one, and that's the one where we have the longest waiting list. Boys in our program wait for about 3 years for a mentor. Girls now we're finding have a waiting list as well, up to a year. This program is where you pick the youth up at their home and you do fun things in the community. You do need a car and a driver's license and car insurance, those sorts of things, but you are pretty free to schedule, when you want to get together. Also with the school-based program, I will say we work with your schedule too, so if you have a day and a time that works best for you, we will kind of work with you on that to find you a youth in any area elementary that can work with your schedule. Community-based, you're free to really figure out what works best for you and the family that you're working with and the youth in that family. So weekends, evenings are pretty much the time available for both. That's a 2 to 3 hour once a week time commitment and lasts for 9 months minimum. So not necessarily a school year, it's 9 months from the time that you're matched. And we're matching throughout the whole year. So if you find that you're not here in the summer, we can kind of work with you, as you go home for the summer months, to stay in touch with your youth. But also if you're here during the summer months, there's lots of things that you can do with your youth in the community. And we provide that through our program as well. We're here to support you. Those little handouts that Chris gave you, this is really how we're trying to appeal to you guys as students. We know that your time is valuable, and we really want to make it worth your while. I mean, you're making a difference in the life of a child, but you're also getting a lot of experience in a lot of different intangible areas that you will find that will benefit you in any career choice that you choose. So the building relationships, the communication, the time management, the organizational skills, all of those things are things that you will really work on in this program, regardless of what career path you choose. And we as staff are there to ensure that you have the best kind of experience and make sure that you grow in these areas that you can put on a resume eventually or a job application. I write a lot of letters of recommendation for a lot of my students who are mentors, and I'm able to really put a lot of things in there of the skills that you gain by being a mentor. So this just kind of highlights that, this paper. So do take a look at that, and like I said, the QR code is on there. We are always looking for mentors. A lot of times mentors will say that the bigger impact is on them rather than the kids. They have a lot of fun, get to do things that you wouldn't normally get to do, and you're really providing that experience to a youth who wouldn't otherwise get it. We've had youth that have never gone out for ice cream. Youth like to go to the rock climbing wall here at MSU. They wouldn't have that opportunity otherwise. We sent a match to the Ed Sheeran concert this summer. So we do provide a lot of different opportunities for you to have those experiences right along with your youth. And we really hope that you will consider us as one of your volunteer options. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Are there any questions for the YMCA? Senator Jagwe?
It's rather a compliment. I love the fact that you're providing an opportunity for people to transform lives of others. Mm-hmm. I also love the fact that you're trying to teach students or young people what actually is most applicable in real life or in the real world. That's amazing, and I'm saying thumbs up for that.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm glad that you brought that up, because I tell a lot of my MSU students, bring your youth on campus. Let them see you where you go to class. Let them see You pay your bills. Let them see you, how you manage, life on your own, doing your laundry, getting to your appointments on time, talking on the phone, social skills. Those are all things that kids now need to see, and you need to be able to show that to them and how you're fully functioning in the world today, because those skills are really lacking in a lot of kids now, and they really are craving that kind of one-on-one attention, and they really look up to you guys as students. 9 times out of 10, when we ask a youth what kind of mentor they want somebody who's young that can do stuff with them and have energy. So really, you guys are really important to our program. Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We will proceed onwards to open forum. Is anyone here for open forum? Yes. You may go up to the podium. You'll be granted upwards of 5 minutes.
Thank you. Hello, student government. Thank you for having me here today. I came to ask for the support of student government for a parking ramp on campus. Reasons I believe this is necessary for campus right now is because campus population is rapidly growing, but we don't have enough spaces or spots for these growing numbers. Due to athletic students needing more space, many lots, especially in dark green, have lost many parking spots due to these students. The government has already had conversations of having a parking ramp, but was never put into focus. Meaning a parking garage is clearly needed. The parking rules are confusing and contradictory, leading to students to get confused and park in the wrong spots, and leading to multiple tickets and a very unhappy student body. Student body has complained about the parking situation on campus for years, and it's high time we do something about it. Some may argue it would be easier to make a new parking lot. However, there's almost no more room near campus to build a new lot that wouldn't disrupt a current building. Plus, no one wants to walk more than a mile to get to campus. The further away a lot is from campus, the more dangerous it is at night. It would be safer to rebuild an existing lot closer to campus and for the safety of students. I believe the optimal spot for a parking garage or ramp would be Lot 1 in dark green. It is closer to campus, away from the main road, to walk to sporting events, and won't disrupt any buildings or confuse the campus. My missions for MSU Mankato have finalized plans to build a parking ramp by the end of the academic year. I would love to have the student government support for the project, but I believe it will benefit the student body and the campus overall.
Thank you so much. Are there any questions? Any questions? Seeing none, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else for open forum? Anyone else for open forum? Alrighty, then we will proceed onwards to officer reports, beginning with President Rueger.
All right. Hello, everybody. So this past week, on Thursday, we got a chance to meet with the City and University Committee, which includes students from South Central and Bethany, as well as the professional staff that they work with. And we got to also meet with City Council members Mike Lavin and Kevin Metler. And one of the big things that came out of that was talking about the Highland Park Neighborhood Association, which is basically all of Highland area, and how they are interested in looking into how they can connect with students more, because they recognize there's been past struggles to connect with students. And so for sure all of our off-campus senators, I'll be sending you all an email with a little bit more information and looking to get some ideas from you about how we can connect with them and just have a better partnership in general with the community, because that's very important. And then on Friday, Vice President Mesta and I were able to meet with Sam Steiger and Carly Hopper from Campus Rec and got to take a deeper look at the student experience and different spots with that need improvement desperately, especially when it comes to privacy, inclusion, everything. So there will be a few more discussions happening within a joint committee meeting happening soon. Don't have the date for that one yet, but I'd love it if that was talked about there. And then today we had a meeting with President Inch, and we talked more about Armstrong, as well as a general update about what we've been up to, talking about the different projects that we've been hearing about coming out of Senate, as well as the sustainability fee. And then tomorrow we've got Meet and Confer, where we'll talk about the results of the conversation today with sustainability fee. And then Students United committees still need folks on them. We have until about October 15th or something 16th. To get people on there. It's a very low commitment. You meet 2 to 3 times per year online via Zoom. And there's multiple different options for getting involved with that. So talk to me after the committee, or talk with me after Senate meeting today if you're interested, and I can get you some more information about each of the different ones. And then next Thursday, the Career Development Center has a photo booth that is being unveiled at 1 o'clock. It's in partnership with Taylor Corporation, and it's for professional portraits for all students. And I believe it would count as office hours if you attended.
Would you yield to me?
I'll yield to you.
Yes.
Okay. So, yes, I would love to see as many of you attend as possible, and that's all I've got for now.
Thank you so much, President Rueger. Are there any questions for the President? Any questions? Senator Kissam?
You didn't answer, does it count as office hours?
Yes. Yes, office hours, yes. Any questions for President Rueger? Kissam?
What time was it?
1 o'clock.
Any other questions for President Rueger? Seeing none, we'll proceed onwards to Vice President Mesta's report.
Hi everyone. I hope you've been enjoying homecoming week. We have a busy events coming up. Tomorrow is lip sync, and then the concert, and then the parade. So we are doing the parade, but I'll leave that to Douglas to talk more about in their report. Some updates. This past Friday, Sierra and I were invited to the Purple and Gold Gala. We appreciate the university for bringing us and letting us talk to donors and alumni members. So we really appreciate to be able to conversate and get some ideas. Earlier today, I met with VP Morris to talk about our equity trainings. We're planning in the next couple weeks to host a joint committee for an equity training. So that's something that we have been working on, and we'll be setting up one soon, and then one in November, as a continuous series to kind of do equity trainings.
Alrighty, are there any questions for Vice President Mesta? Any questions? Any questions? Seeing none, I'll go on to my report. First off, homecoming. So y'all voted to do it, so we're going to walk in the parade on Saturday. To note, this does count as office hours if you are participating with the student government. We will be going with the president's car, so we will be with the university president's vehicle. Y'all voted to walk and hand out. A little sad that y'all didn't choose to do some scooters of the bird scooters and have some fun with that. But you'll be walking out, you'll be handing out some candy. The president's office will be giving out some candy for us to pass out. The lineup time on Saturday is at 10 a.m. Be there before 10:30 a.m. Additionally, I'll bring up, I've been meeting with the Policy Review Committee. Please feel free if you have anything that you wanted to push forward with your policy reviews, because I know some of you wrote those, so I can get some of your concerns or some of your clarifications to the Policy Review Committee. so I can represent your values in terms of policy review. Third thing, if you haven't done your Mav Central form, so if you haven't done your Senate onboarding, most of you have. There's just a couple of you who haven't done it yet, so please do so. And then also, if you haven't signed up for your Senator reports, which a lot of you have not, please fill that out on Mav Central so I can get you all scheduled for your Senator report so we can start enjoying what you all been up to and what you all been working on throughout this semester so far. The one thing I will add is I will now be here next week. Unfortunately, the memorial service that I would be going to has been postponed due to family having COVID. So, date to come soon on when I will be away for that memorial service in terms of the changing of dates. The other thing that I wanted to add is I also met with VP Morris earlier today, and we wanted to bring up at some point a discussion on a potential diversity, equity, inclusion retreat that would happen sometime in the spring semester, and we're open to hearing Senator ideas after the meeting or throughout the rest of the semester on what you would want to be included in terms of those student leader conversations, because it would be a broader sphere. With that, I open myself up to questions from Senate. Are there any questions for me? Senator Dietrich.
Do you know if we wanted to participate in walking in the parade, how long it would go till for anyone that works that day?
12, as far as I'm aware. However, I can yield to our master of homecoming, Senator Leistico.
Yes, so the parade, I don't know exactly how long it's going to take. Since you guys are with the President's Float, that means you are one of the first floats to go and to get back. It's basically however long it's going to take to walk from the corner of Maywood and Warren to Lot 22. So shouldn't be more than 30 minutes. Should be less than that.
Any other questions? Sir Brian?
If you walk in that, what are we wearing?
Something along the tropical theme. So, as it is Mavericks in Paradise, try to orient your theme to something along those lines, or at least something MSU related in terms of our university. Any other questions? Senator Godswell?
Is it mandatory for everyone to be there?
Sorry, can you say that again?
Is it mandatory for everyone to be there?
No, it is not mandated. You can absolutely choose to be there if you want. I would assume, based off of those who voted yes on that, to walk in the parade, that you would have likely have signed up for it. That being said, if you are not able to participate in it, Amal is taking point at the event, so please reach out to Amal. Senator Beckerman.
Where is the lineup for the parade?
That is the corner of Maywood, right? Roughly?
Yeah, it's on Maywood Avenue.
Yep.
You guys will be in the VIP lineup, so yours.
Senator Jagmay.
Do we have a specific dress code for that day?
It can be whatever. I encourage you to wear something MSU related or pertaining the theme of homecoming, which is paradise in terms of that. So Hawaiian, I might encourage Hawaiian or something, relaxing, vacation-y clothes. Anything along those lines would be perfect in terms of that theme. But if you have none of that, at least something MSU related.
How about if we had something that unifies the student government representatives?
Then I would recommend talking amongst yourselves after this meeting. Probably talk with Amal on what you would all like to do and kind of bring sort of a unified front on what you all would like to wear. But other than that, there is no formal dress code being mandated by me in any way. Any other questions? Any other questions? Seeing none, we will go to our Dean of the Day, which is Dean Corley.
Thank you very much. No podium. You guys getting rid of the podium? I don't know what I'm going to do with my hands. How many of you guys use the library? Pretty good percentage of you. So you'll probably be interested in what I'm going to be talking about. We had a really good discussion with many of you last year, not only in updates but also in group meetings with you. Is the slide deck? Is that going to be?
Hey Robert, can you get the slide deck for Dean Corley up, please? Thank you.
I'd like to give you an update on where we are with developing a learning commons, which I think will benefit generations of students to come after you. If you could go to the second slide. We've been in a multi-year process to envision a learning commons to benefit the students. Original ideas for this developed in August of 2019, if not before, and we've had several iterations of kind of idea generation from them. The idea generation has included, as you might expect from a group of librarians, research and literature review. We then looked afield, as I'll discuss, to other examples of learning commons around the country. And we also, last year, conducted many group internal reflections to get perspectives here on campus about what people would like to see. What we've learned is that the documented benefits of learning commons include broadening the role of the library on campus, collaboration across student learning services, and many people have described transformative changes in learning and help-seeking behavior on the part of the students. Another way to say that is students have easier access to the resources they need for their success in learning, and that generally results in a pretty positive affirmation about their experiences on campus. So what I'm going to describe to you is some of the processes here. If we could go to the next slide. After we did our research and lit review, we identified several campuses that had already moved in this direction. The ones with the asterisks are the ones that we have visited. So Provost Hood visited Cal State East Bay. President Inch is from East Bay and oversaw a transformation of their library. And then in May and June, we sent teams comprised of library experts, IT experts, undergraduate research center, Center for Academic Success, and MavPass together in groups to North Carolina State University, the University of Arizona, University of Miami, and the University of Saskatchewan in Canada. And the library learning commons that we studied, if we could switch to the next slide, shared some similar concepts. They all emphasized community, the joy of reading, inquiry, a passion for lifelong learning. They all included research and technology assistance and technology spaces that fostered information literacy skills, creativity, and information. They all had flexible space. That was pretty clear. The idea was that we might need to use spaces in different ways for a variety of activities, from one-on-one assistance to small group work. And they all included some comfortable seating. Many included cafes. And the seating arrangements also kind of helped guide students towards information-seeking behaviors that we're hoping to induce. They all had, to varying degrees of success, digital components that were providing the type of resources and information that students would get in a physical location, but also on the web as well. If we could switch to the next slide. Internally, these are the groups that we consulted last year. And we consulted them in multiple ways. We sent out questionnaires. We followed up the questionnaires with small group meetings. We also had people provide further written feedback as well. Your student government was one of those groups, and many of you in the room have been consulted last year in one way or another to engage some of the ideas that we're developing here. If we could go to the next slide, I'm going to address some of the common themes we learned from internal use. What we learned is that students might be more likely to use the services if they were easily available in the Learning Commons. We see that already this year. We developed an IT service point next to our printer bar, and we have much higher use there of the services. We moved the writing center from the lower level of the library to the upper level of the library, and we've already seen a 17% increase in the use of the writing tutors as well. And so a lot of this is just how do you purposely place the kind of resources that students need to get to them. A lot of our campus said that they wanted to see more partnerships, more collaboration. There was a strong desire for a central kind of one-stop. In the library world, we would call it a triage desk. Students could go there and they could get know where they needed to go for resources, make appointments, those types of things for the various academic learning programs. We also learned that there's a lot of implementation obstacles and concerns as well. A concern that this aligns with our institutional priorities, a concern that we need to develop a kind of common philosophy, a concern about decision making and where that would lie, a concern about communication, all the kinds of things that are, really important management questions about if we're going to move in this direction, how do we do this well. We, by the end of the inquiry-based sessions last spring, developed a list of who we thought would be the primary partners in a main floor learning commons on the library, and I'll list them off here for you. Accessibility services, the Center for Academic Success is our primary tutoring arm, IT solutions, library services, MavPass, printing services, TRIO student support services, the Undergraduate Research Center, University Advising, and University Fellowships Office. Many, if not all of these services are currently available in the lower level of the library, so we're really talking about lifting those areas up and giving them the visibility. And then we have a list of potential digital or pop-up partners, which would include the Career Development Center, counseling, diversity, equity, and inclusion, honors, learning communities, and other various student success services. There was also addressed the issue of where would we host faculty-oriented partnerships, and we determined, based on our group work, and we know we have some of that in our lower level of our library with CETL, those types of things. We recognize that faculty have already navigated the challenges of moving through higher education. Many of them are very successful, and they could probably find these locations in other areas, and so we're recommending that they be placed in another area of the building, potentially even the third floor of the building, or even another building altogether. We have no doubt that the faculty will be able to find those resources. What we want is a main floor, easy access for our undergraduate students to find these resources. If you can go to the next slide, this will be the last part, and I'll be able to answer any questions that you have. Just want to make sure I'm not taking up too much of your time. We've outlined kind of a phase plan. We're in phase 1 right now. And in speaking to you, but then especially on Monday, I hope to speak to the cabinet and then also the Joint Budget Planning and Assessment Committee. It's a shared governance committee. We will be basically seeking the green light to go to phase 2. And phase 2 would include things like defining roles and expectations for learning common partners, crafting a vision and mission for a learning commons, common philosophy agreement, what does it mean to be a partner. What we learned from our partners who have already gone in this direction is that you have to think about those kinds of things on the front end and not just think of partners moving into a building as if they're tenants. What you want is a partner, and you want people who are working across organizational boundaries for the success of the students. And so we're really advocating that we begin to work towards phase 2, which will then allow us a bit of more clear perspective on what the leadership, management, design would look like. And only after that are we ready for major construction. And as you can see from what we've done already, we've done quite a bit without major construction. We can do a lot with mobile, flexible chairs, tables, signage, those types of things in ways that will benefit you immediately. And we've really tried to do that over the last couple of years. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you have, concerns.
Are there any questions for Dean Corley? Sarah Revere?
How you doing, sir? I was just asking, all right, so are you guys still in the ideal phase, like you're still getting together different ideals together, or y'all past that?
I'd say we're past the research seeing what's going on around the country and seeing what some of the leading universities who have developed learning commons have gone through and what they've experienced. But I think we're still in the idea generating phase. We're trying to figure out with our partner programs what we would kind of have in common and how we would work together. So we're definitely still in the idea of generating.
Sir Revere again?
Because what I'm getting at is that you guys want to make the library the center, basically make the library the center of the university. So I was thinking of like more like it's like I see you going the academia route too, but also like try to put together like something like for the students. When I mean for the students, like extracurriculum stuff, like say like if I wanted to start a business, I can go to the library and somebody can help me get an EIN number, or even get like help me even write up a business plan. I know you guys have the big ideas thing, but that would be even more helpful, like stuff like that. Or like if I wanted, like I know we have like a like we do like a podcast things here and stuff like that. And then like if like it's a lot of students here that make content, so like if I wanted to use a green screen, I can go probably to the 3rd floor and have access to a green screen, so stuff like that. That's why I was asking, are y'all still in the ideal phases? Because I've seen I've been to other universities where they have that different aspects in their libraries where like somebody can literally record a song in their library and then dip and go out like and still study at the same time.
Thank you. We are absolutely continuing to generate those ideas and envisioning those types of services, not only for the future, but now. I have sent a memo to our library faculty indicating the need for a podcasting studio, at least one, in the library to adapt to changes in curriculum here. We also are envisioning the kinds of services that you might need in the Learning Commons. Business assistance might be one of them. We've had a lot of discussion on data visualization, that students, what they really need is they might need their computer fixed. They might need to loan a computer, but what they also need is to learn how to be able to go from an Excel database and have a chart, a graph, and a lot of students aren't familiar with that. So data visualization, what I'm hearing from you is potentially business services. We could actually absolutely do that. And then we are right now working on podcasting. We have discussions going on with IT about recording. When we talk about rooms with technology, a lot of the discussion has been focused on those types of issues.
I appreciate that y'all going in that step, because I really would want help, like just even setting up starting a website or a business website or something like that. That would be like useful.
Absolutely. I will relay that to our partners, especially in IT. And I think what we're envisioning is, you come to this one stop and you've got an IT partner there, you've got a library reference or another library person there. You've got the people right there who, if they can't help you, they'll know who to guide you to.
Sarah Ali?
I was wondering what do you envision the timeline between the phases or within the phases?
That's a good question. I mean, one of the reasons we're having this discussion is directly related to Armstrong 2. This library project that we're envisioning here is not part of the bonding project for Armstrong 2, but we're strongly recommending that it's considered in concert with it, because part of the vision for Armstrong 2 is the potential for need for space in the library. And so what I've been advocating for, and I think we have some momentum, is if we're going to have classroom space in the library, that we think about having it in the lower level of the library, lifting up some of those services in the lower level on the main floor, which would implicate costs, design, construction, those types of things. So we're trying to advance the discussion, at least alongside the Armstrong 2 discussion, and that discussion is taking us into 26, 27, 28. So I would say within 5 years or so is where we're looking to have this transformation. But some of the transformations are happening right now. Anything we can do low cost without making sure that we have permanent changes on that main floor, we're experimenting with right now.
Are there any other questions? Senator Mohammed?
Just to say really what happens, later, you know, you mentioned Armstrong having some classes inside the library, so
Well, those ultimate decisions would lie with the cabinet, and the cabinet makes their decisions in consultation with the shared governance process that includes students, faculty, and our various collective bargaining units here in the library, just like, or in the university, just like we would make any decision. But ultimately, the cabinet would, you know, decide on the direction that they want to take.
Senator Kansa?
I would appreciate if graduate and the research will also be considered.
Absolutely.
Yeah, not
Absolutely.
only undergraduate, but graduate also needs that.
We think many of, I indicated an emphasis on undergraduate because we know that we have we want to emphasize retention of our students, and especially our undergraduate students, our first and second year students. And what we have learned is that students benefit when they have easy access to those resources, especially when they're unfamiliar with higher education. We recognize that there can be challenges with grad students as well. Those challenges are a little bit different. Our librarians work regularly with graduate students, and we anticipate that many of the services that would be provided in those learning commons would also be available to graduate students, some of which they'd be very interested in, such as our research services, our data visualization services, should we offer that as well, I think will really be of interest. A lot of the collaboration studios we're thinking about would be also highly utilized by graduate students as well. So I apologize for emphasizing the undergraduate experience, but that's one of our key focuses in terms of retention and completion of our undergraduates at the university.
Senator Dietrich?
It's not really a question, but I wanted to emphasize my full support. And when the redesign for the first floor will come, that will have the support services that students need on that first floor, accessibility resources, student tutoring, MathPass, Trio. Right now you have Trio all the way in Wecking. You have accessibility resources in some sort of weird shunted area in the basement of the library. And for a lot of students, that feels, especially students with disabilities, it feels like a metaphor for how they're viewed. The fact that, you know, that office gets shunted down there, for the students that use Trio, it's all the way, you know, super far away, you gotta walk, you know, however, and it's like, it makes it feel like these offices were an afterthought, and therefore the students that need them were also an afterthought.
Well, thank you. And as you can see, we're trying to make sure that they are highly visible on the main floor. One of the challenges that we will face in the future as we think about this is the distinction between kind of the services we're providing for the students and which are varied. And so how do we balance the need for one-on-one appointments, group meetings, those types of things in a main commons floor? And that's going to be one of the challenges for design. I think, but I foresee that if you were to return several years from now to the university, you will see those types of offices highly represented in the commons area. Main floor.
Senator Jagman?
Actually, I happen to work with accessibility resources. I'm a student work there, but you realize that so many students keep asking and questioning, where is that? When you mention it, yet it's one of the vital departments providing accommodations to students with incapacitations or disabilities. So that's an amazing step to take, and I think it will benefit so many of the students and create more awareness about the rest of the students in the school.
Thank you. And Accessibility Services has been a great partner in these discussions, and the discussions have gone way beyond space. And right now, I have teams of people working with Accessibility Services, making sure that our digital resources are accessible just like they are to everybody. So there's a lot of other types of partnerships. We also do accessibility reviews, annual accessibility reviews that we've instituted in the library, where we work with our partners to make sure that we have as accessible spaces as possible. So we're trying to be more intentional.
Senator Revere?
My question is, do you have any numbers, like cost, to share with us yet, or who's going to be funding?
No, it's far too early for anything. We're still really in the idea phase of this.
So no potential potential members yet.
No, and you know, as a leader seeking to improve the experience of students, you know, I've tried to do so. I've tried to move forward in ways that are very cost efficient, and really look for ways that where we can see really quick change with very little investment. It's just a new way to look at something. And I think that having the IT there and the tutors there right on the main floor, you know, is a really good example of that kind of work. We will be putting a lot of personnel time and investment. That will have a cost. The librarians are, in order to accommodate this type of project, will be reducing, I think I've mentioned it before to this group last year, they'll be reducing our print collection by about 25%. Because we need to make space for these other types of endeavors as well. Yeah, yeah, and we're removing books that are lesser used, and we're obviously keeping the physical collection that we use all the time. But it's going to be a pretty major reduction. So it's not only the cost of construction and those types of things, but there's a lot of personnel cost involved, and there's a lot of work that has to be done before we can do these other types of things.
Alrighty, Senator Custom, did you have a question? Okay, no. Any other questions? Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much.
We'll now go on over to our resource of the day, Mark Constantine.
Good afternoon. How's everybody doing? Dean Corley is always a tough act to follow, but one thing that Dean Corley did have is candy, and I have some candy. Douglas asked me to go ahead and say a few words about the CSU. I know most of you have been to all the meetings and things like that. Again, it's Mark Constantine, I'm the director of the Student Union and Student Activities. And I will have a few quiz things along my talk here a little bit. So what I'd ask somebody if they have an answer is to raise your hand. I'll try to pick the person to raise it first, and we'll go to somebody else if we need to from there. Student Union and Student Activities, we are one department within the Office of Student Affairs. Sometimes you hear CSU, and I want to make sure that people know that the Office of Student Activities, which is downstairs, which John's involved with, is also a key component of the CSU as well. We have the programming and operations end. Does anybody know who I report to?
Mark Johnson.
No? I said raise your hand, please. Your answer's incorrect? Okay. And what's his name?
She was about to say me.
Dr. Jones.
Yes, you're right.
You're right.
I'll have candy too.
I have a little candy there. Okay. I report to the Office of Student Affairs and Enrollment Management. David Jones is my direct supervisor along the way. We want to make sure, you know, I think most people know this and hear from my enthusiasm when I talk about pretty regularly, is that we want to be a student-centered building. It's really important that we're that. Cindy Janney, when she talked to her presentation recently, she talked about, and John talked during his presentation too, that we are a revenue fund building, meaning your student fees. Revenue fund is student fees. When you hear general fund, that's really more your tuition dollars. It's still coming out of your pockets, your mom and dad or whoever's helping you for and yourself working wise, but there are a distinction between that as well. We, you know, like some of the other fees, are a revenue fund organization. We have two branches, as I mentioned, Student Activities and the CSU, and we sort of split those up by two associate directors that work in the different areas. Anybody tell me maybe a name of one of our associate directors? Raise your hand. Yep. Greg Wilkins. Good answer. Yep. And how about the other associate directors? Anybody know that person that isn't a name that maybe you'd hear as much? Come on, the seasoned staff here. Somebody might know that. James Ball. He's our other associate director. So, associate director for operations, James has those areas, meaning the bullpen tech services and our setup areas, and also our tech services. So he's got three assistants, coordinators that work with him. And then the other one is Greg Wilkins. Greg's our associate director for student activities, and it has our 4 units within that work with student activities. How about an answer? Can anybody maybe give me an idea of what one of the 4 areas down student activities as we break those up by assistant directors, potentially? Sarah?
Fraternity and sorority.
That's great, that's John's area, right? You guys can pass these down. I won't throw them across the room. If we were a little more informal, I probably would, but I'll be a little more pleasant than that today. So we have 4 areas, right? Fraternity and sorority life. Michelle Harvey, she's with our RSOs, leadership and non-traditional students. Earlier, we had Crystal here, she's with community engagement. And then Bill Torville. What group does Bill Torville work with? And this guy can't answer.
Student events team.
Student events team, very nice. That's a good one. There you go. You know, student events team, I'll talk about that in a second, but one of our more active groups on campus and really active this week with our with all of our homecoming activities. Back to the CSU just a little bit, you know, I mentioned, you know, we like to think about this as your home away from home. We want this place to be where passions are created, events take place, and partners and friends for life can be found. It's amazing the stories over the years that we hear when we have some of our anniversary celebrations, how many people met here and for the first time as freshmen or other years, and they end up becoming partners for life, married and those type of things, and it's really fun to hear some of those stories. And the purpose of me bringing this up is that this building would be a place that people gather on a regular basis. We want it to be fun, a place that you can learn educationally and those type of things. We have a moniker within the building that we call ourselves the house of something. What is that word that goes along with that? Yep.
Serendipity.
Okay, thank you. That's the right answer down there. So pass these down if you would. House of serendipity. So pleasant surprises along the way. That's sort of what that serendipity term means along the way. We also have 3 words that are part of our vision statement along the way. 3 words that you'll hear often when you see it. We have it posted some places in the building and those type of things too. How about somebody have one of the words for us? Yep, go ahead.
Involve.
Involve, that's good. That's a good one. Okay. Somebody else you had another one?
Inspire.
Inspire. Good. Let's pass those on for us, all right? There's a couple more for people down there. We have one more word. Does anybody else have that? Go ahead.
This is engage.
Involve. That's good. All right, good. So 3 words are invite, involve, and inspire. We want to invite people to our building, right? For educational purposes, social purpose, to eat, for fellowship, all those type of things. We want to involve them. Part of involvement is you getting involved with your student activities here, to use this room for meetings, to go to the ballroom, to have special events for international, multicultural. All of our groups have their larger events in there. Ostrander for movies. 253 Form 5 because it's a multi-space space. 254 behind me, the same type of thing. So we want to make sure you're involved on campus. And the last one was inspire. And the main reason what CSU and student activities and all of us on campus really want to do is inspire students to do better while they're here. But more importantly, and as important I should say this, we want you to be leaders in your community after you leave us, right? And the things and the leadership opportunities that you take on while you're here with us, and part of that leadership opportunity is what you're doing right here now, right? Being part of student government. You're learning things about yourself, you're learning things about your leadership skills, and we want to make sure you're inspired to be leaders in your community overall. I met with the Student Union Board. We had our first meeting today. And we talked about that experience being something you can pass on and have on your resume and those type of things that help you out along the way. So you guys are doing well. You've done a pretty good job on those things. Student activities, real quick. I just want to mention we did talk about those 4 different areas. Really, really important that all of you be ambassadors to campus and your fellow students about what student activities has to offer. We think they can help all of our RSOs with ideas and brainstorming. If anybody knows Greg Wilkins, he's probably the master brainstormer on campus. You come up and talk to him, he'll talk your ear off, maybe too long, about his ideas and things to give you as students ideas about how to be more successful within your areas. So come to student activities between John and all of our assistant directors downstairs. They can help you with fresh ideas. If you're struggling within your organization, for instance, you're having a hard time with maybe a member or something like that, they can be good people to give you resources. That's what we're trained for. That's the things that we do as a group. So look forward to doing that too. The other thing related to programs is the CSU, and I just want to mention that quickly as well. We do a lot of programming ourselves too, and let me ask another one of our questions along the way. Not the student activities programming, but the CSU does some special things throughout the year as well that we would consider ourselves programming. Anybody have an idea of maybe what one of those programs might be that we do on a fairly regular basis or once a year? I think you've got one already. Let me see if there's somebody else. Francesca?
The breakfast with breakfast at night.
What's that?
The breakfast at night.
Yes, that's good. Just pass those on if you would. Late night breakfast, that's one. Did you have another one?
Therapy dogs.
Therapy dogs. We call them Hound Hugs and Canine Kisses, right? That's one of our bigger programs on campus. Students love to go ahead and spread some of that down there too as well. Another one of our programs. Yep.
Can you please ask easy questions to earn those candies?
I have any left afterwards, I'll pass the whole bag around, okay? So you'll have something like that. That would be a student organization, but that deserves something to do. There you go. Okay, the car smash some of our fraternities do that usually every year, but anybody could do that as well. So I'll just go ahead and mention just a couple of these real quick. I'm almost done on this. I know you guys.
You have plenty of time.
Overall. And Lenny Kopel's responsible for a lot of these programs, but late night breakfast, as we talked about, we had that twice a year. Karaoke every week down in the TV lounge in the bullpen, Hound Hugs and Canine Kisses, Serendipity Music Series. The music we have off and on in the Hearth Lounge or outside, and when the weather's nice, those are put on by us. We have a small set of money that we can do that, and Lenny Kopel, our communication coordinator, is responsible for booking groups. Matter of fact, I encourage you, if you all from the area know somebody that might be not real expensive, that might want to bring in, go ahead and contact Lenny. He can help you with that as well. Mall Fest that we have usually in spring, sort of end of a celebration of the year, we help sponsor that with some of the free food and the petting zoo and all those type of things is one of our programs. And our exam activities as well. You know, often during finals exam, we have free massages and we have music downstairs, sometimes from free food and those type of things. So just so you know that those things don't just happen by themselves. The CSU is part of the responsibility of doing those things and part of our full budget. Again, we're revenue fund folks, so all of our money, our salaries, and those things come from our student fees. So I appreciate all of you paying for my salary. That's very nice of you along the way. Let's see here. Traditions, last two things. Traditions are pretty important to us as well, and this is really important, and this coming this week, especially with homecoming. Traditions are special to all of us in our lives along the way, and it's those things we think about, we talk about for years to come, and we want you to be involved with those. Most of you know our new student rally we started a couple years ago, our tradition of walking through the alumni arch, kind of a neat tradition so to bring people into campus. Homecoming. John and the student government did one of our traditions that we've been doing for a number of years now by handing out the t-shirts for the first football game. So the students are in unity when they go to a game such as those things. Haunted Takeover, which is coming up in about a month, is a pretty strong tradition here. We do a great job. The student events teams does that. Late night breakfast we talked about in one area, but it's a tradition. You know, we get over 600 students to come to that, which is pretty neat thing overall. Our phone party is another example. So just want to let you know our passion, CSU student activities, is about tradition along the way. I was sitting here thinking about one thing too. There is one thing that sort of relates more to student government. There is a person on campus that's been around for quite a long time that really has a passion for student government because he was involved with student government. Was he as a student as well? Does anybody know who that might be? Yep. Kim? No, that's not the right answer. He's not that old. I'm old, but that's not me. Go ahead.
David?
David, that's right. There you go. David comes to all of our meetings. There's a couple of things that pass down. David comes to all of our meetings, and he's not part of the CSU, and he's not part of student activities, but he's a part of this university fabric beyond belief. So when I was sitting here with my notes, I said, I gotta put David in here as well, because he does really care about this group and cares about the campus. Probably none other than anybody else on our campus, so he needs a shout out along the way. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, final for me. My bottom line is that we want to make sure that you know, as a student group, that we're here. Myself and my team are here for students at any and all times. There's no question that we won't try to tackle both the student activities team and the CSU team. We might not have all the answers immediately, but we'll try to get to the answers for you as well. And I say this to the students that have worked with me in the past. I'll be real with you. I won't try to sugarcoat things if it doesn't need to be sugarcoated. It's important to hear reality. Sometimes it might be reality related to funds, but we will bend over backwards to try to make something happen if we can do that. And the final thing is the Student Union Board really is the advisory group to myself when we meet to sort of talk about some of the ideas that we want to bring forward, and we want to have our student union bring ideas to us so we can make this building and our programs better for everybody. I'll stop at that. Okay, any questions for me? And I'll pass the candy around this way. Maybe take one apiece so it gets around the table, okay?
Senator Godswell?
What is your office doing to make international students feel more welcome into like the student event or student activity?
Yep.
Personally, if I'm going to go into my past 4 years in this school, a lot of activities, a lot of stuff being done does not involve international students. It's more of domestic student based, to be honest with you. So what are you doing to make that difference?
I'll challenge you on your comment, first of all, in a good way, because I think our staff, in a sense, the programming staff downstairs and student activities does a really good job of opening up their arms to everybody. I think if there's feedback that we can get related to certain things, we're always open to that. We work very, very closely with our programmatic efforts with our multicultural groups, Women's Center, LGBT Center, as well as the Curing International Center to try to do activities together along the way. So our arms are open at all the time, working with groups. Many of our international groups are involved with our RSOs, and we have direct contact with them from a leadership standpoint, as well as our organizational standpoint on a regular basis. So if you have some specifics that you'd like to talk to me about at some time, about things that you think we're maybe dragging on or we could do better, I'm more than willing to sit down and talk to you about those type of things. I think we try to work really hard with the groups along the way, but we maybe don't have all the answers, and I really would like to hear some more from you about how we can do better. Okay, thank you.
Senator Jagwe?
It's just something I'll request if it would be done, like all over the doors, entry and exit doors of CSU. There's always allocation of the times when CSU should open and close on various days.
Yep.
So how about these different fields of possible engagement by students could also be somewhere like where students can really realize. I don't think the many activities you've talked about in different departments that all students are aware that these actually take place in CSU.
Okay.
So how about if you do the same like you did for the time allocations of CSU operation hours?
Okay, we'll take that into consideration. Thank you. Our website does have some of those things that help out, but we'll take a look at that and see if we can do a better job there. Thank you.
Any other questions? Any other questions? Thank you so much, Mark.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Can I save a recess?
Alrighty, we'll go on to Senator reports. With Senator Godswell. You'll be given 5 minutes for your report.
How are we doing today? Today I'll be giving my senator.
We have order on this side. Thank you.
Today I'll be giving my senator report, and my project is one looking into student pay mostly ones that affect international students. My focus will be the Sodexo as a company, from the dining center to the CSU. With my past years here in school as a student and also as an international student, I feel like my fellow international students are not being treated equally and being paid what I think they deserve. Before I start, I was going to ask this question to the floor. Would anyone here work for $10? As for 2023, would any one of you, if you're given a job to work for $10, will you accept that offer? This is what international students get paid on campus, and there have been times we've asked for. International students are not asking for too much. We've been asked for, at least for this company, because they're a third party, they're not directly with the school, to at least match the university pay. If you're working in the CSU directly with the school, you get at least minimum pay of $12.50 an hour, $13, depending on where you're working. But as a dining center worker, or even if you work at Chick-fil-A, whatever you work for Sodexo as a company, the minimum pay you get is $10, which I feel like is a slap to a student face. And if you check it with I did the research, there are limited number of domestic students who work with them, in the sense that they know they have other options to work off campus. But being an international student, you can't work off campus. If you do that, I'm sorry, that'll be your first class back home, because you'll be deported. We gotta study it fast. So I personally feel like Sodexo know this stuff, and that is why they're taking advantage of students. Most of their workers are international students. If you doubt me, you can go verify. And I met with the International Student Association. I had some meeting with them, and I also had some meeting with some people, which I'm not going to disclose their name because they don't want to be called. And I was told that the school invited Sodexo for a pay review, and they did not honor this invitation. That's to tell you that these guys know what they're doing. We students here, we bring money into this corporation, we fund them, we support them, we promote them as not just their worker, also as a student. And what do we get back to the face? A slap to our face, which I feel like is not right, and is not something we should tolerate. And also, I want to use this medium to challenge the president of the school and also the president of the the president of the student government, that if they'll please look into this, and I know the Sodexo contract will be expiring soon. And before anyone bid in the school board, I don't know who signs this contract or who will look into this contract or agree with the terms of the contract, before they'll sign anything into that or place any signature, can we have a review of this contract as a student government before this contract are being signed? Just the same way sometimes we do have review of the policies before they get passed. Can we also have this review of this contract before it's been signed? Because there's a lot of students that are depressed with this situation. They don't get treated equally as workers even when they are at their job in the dining center. I've worked there for 3 years. I'm not just saying somebody told me. I experienced this stuff firsthand. I don't just go about, about situation where I don't experience myself. I experience it myself, and I know what goes on. So I just want to use this medium to challenge each and every one of you here that please, if you could raise your voice in your different position, in any way you could help and assist my fellow international students to make sure that we're not treated like we're not human beings or we don't deserve better. Please, we are calling for help. This is a cry for help. And if possible, there are other companies willing to come to campus to run the same business. Sodexo is not the best. There are other companies that will do maybe a better job if they're not willing to work with the school. Thank you. If you have any question, I'm open to answer.
Are there any questions, Senator Kassam?
Did you get any positive response from anyone?
I didn't get a positive response. Just like I stated earlier, Sodexo were invited for a peer review, which they did not, honor those invitations, in the sense that, again, just like I stated, they know what they're doing, and they felt like they're untouchable, to be honest. That's the way I personally see it right now.
Senator Dietrich?
You mentioned that they declined a review. Has there been any contact between you and Sodexo at all to discuss this issue?
Not yet, because I personally right now I'm going through the student organization, because I don't know if I have their power to invite them for a personal one-on-one conversation. I know how to do this. I am working with the student organization, and also I'm trying to work with Madam President here on this same situation. But honestly, if I'm still working on resources to see how I'm going to get them on the table to talk about this, and if I do, definitely I'll update you guys.
Senator Revere?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they already went over that review, like how the contract switched. Isn't that true?
Would you yield to President Roger?
Yes.
Do you have a little information on that?
Oh, the contract right now is beginning to be, like, they're getting ready right now to look at the contract for the next 6 years. So right now, this year, they're looking at consultants, and then, in the next 2 years is when the contract talks and everything happens. And so that'll be when the bigger piece of it goes in. But I know we've made it known that students want to be involved and want to be engaged and want to discuss the minimum wage piece of it, so.
Senator Revere?
And I just want to say, like, a lot of what you're saying, it makes sense, is because as a domestic student, we have a lot of options around. Like you said, we can work at Walmart for 15 and go anywhere we want and make more than we can here. And then the international students, they're stuck and they're jailed here, they're locked here. And like you said, it's only $10, and they're being basically it's like they're forced. There's nothing else you can do. You're forced to either work or starve, and you have to work for that for $10 an hour. So it's understandable what you're saying.
Senator Jagma?
This is a very sensitive issue, and I request the rest of the senators to take it seriously, not lightly. Actually, so many international students complain a lot. Just the little time I've spent here, just 2 months, I've really got to hear people complain about this. At the same time, this is the most hectic work done on campus. I work with accessibility resources, and I'm always flexible. The dining can never be flexible. If it's work, it's work. But school departments are flexible. It is the most demanding work. It is the most hectic work. It would actually go for higher pay because you just can't give in much and get less. Secondly, honestly, it's the biggest employing department or entity on campus. So many students fade out, more so international students, to access or get work within the short time they just arrived or go to the university. So they have no option but to go for dining. And at the end of the day, they just end up being taken for granted and then cheated. That is like cheating because you can't give in more and get less. So I request each one of the senators to really raise this, because if you go down to the people or to the students, this is making an alarm. And when there is an alarm, as leaders, we must be able to solve the issue before everything blows out. We don't want to see something like fire here. No strikes. This is our institution. We love it. And we need to work on each issue that is pressing so hard on the students. Thank you.
Sorry, you can respond.
Yeah, I agree with what he says. Personally, I call them modern-day slavery, to be honest.
Sir Kanza?
I just want to bring a notice that I was working during summer at Children's House, and I was paid 10, and the same domestic student was paid more than 20, though we equally work. And I just want to know that not only dining hall, but the other centers are also paying the same to international students.
Again, if can I answer that? Yep. Good. If you talked about you work at the children's house,
Yeah,
but
it is related to university, so they are also paying the same $10 for
the children's house is related to the university, just like the Diana Center, but I think they are a third-party company. This is what I'm talking about. If you're working directly with the school, you get paid better. But all these third-party company that comes to school take advantage of students. Just like you said, a domestic student get paid close to 20. You as an internship get paid close to
25,
exactly.
I think.
But you do the same job, right?
Yeah.
If you go to the Dining Center, for example, 70% of the people that work there are international students. They don't even hire domestic people because they know. Personally, as a businessman, I'm an economics major. If I'm going to pay somebody $10, and I know if I hire somebody, so I'll pay them 15 or 16. Trust me, I'll go for the $10 because I want to save money as a company where I make more profit. That is the same thing I'm just talking about. This third company comes to school, take advantage of students and stuff like that. Every year, the dining center fee increase. If you buy meal plan or if you stay in the dorm, you agree with me. They increase those fees for dining plan. But what did the student get that work to keep those dining running effectively? $10 an hour. That's a slap to the face.
Senator Custom?
Me, as an international student, I have worked there for like 3rd semester and it's 4th semester. I became supervisor last semester. Still, I have heard a lot of new students talking like it's exhausting. It's like totally exhausting. You won't be able to do assignments, exams, just forget about that. All this work and the way we students get treated and the payroll, it's like so if this student government can help that out, I am into it. Like, it's a serious matter.
Senator Ali?
I've had talks with many international students, and I've seen that how hard they actually work, and I've seen it when I go to like buy anything from anywhere on campus. So I understand it's very disheartening knowing that 10 is all they're getting for all the hard work that they do, and I know that if they weren't working there, like you said, domestic students wouldn't be taking those jobs, and we won't be having a smooth running campus. So I think we should definitely work together to get this situated.
Senator Kanza?
I just feel that the inequality is done, but no one want to talk about that, and no one want to address that. But it's really an inequality that is being done between international and domestic student workers. Yes.
And again, my personal answer to that is why personally I'm making that my personal project to see at least there is change, and because we are all students here, despite being international or domestic or whatever the case may be, we learn in the same classroom. We pay almost the same tuition. Like a domestic student will pay at least close to like $4,000 for a semester. If an international student, if you have a scholarship, cultural contribution scholarship, you pay. They try to make the field a little bit closer together. So why don't we get the same treatment when it comes to working on campus or stuff like that? Just like you say, international students are jail, yeah. We don't have an option. If you don't get a job on campus, I'm sorry, that is it. You cannot go off campus and work. If you try that, you'll be deported.
Senator Dietrich?
I just had a point of information that international students aren't the only ones that I have historically heard get shorted by the dining centers that way. I have known people who have relied on the company MRCI, especially before COVID happened. These are people who are adults but can't typically find jobs the way that you or I maybe could, and they rely on MRCI for things like transportation, helping them get the job, helping them maintain the job, things like that. And those people get paid actually less than minimum wage because they are a part of that program and because they get to work through that program. They usually also collect Social Security, but at the same time, when you're getting paid, $6.25 and the minimum wage was like $8 something, and the work you're doing is incredibly intensive and physically draining, that's got to be incredibly disheartening. So I just wanted to point out too that this is a trend or a pattern that we have seen. Yeah.
Just like you said, those people receive social right. They receive social security benefit, right?
Yep.
Good. But international student does not receive anything. Mm-hmm. We're only meant to rely on the $10 we get. So you see, I'm not trying to say whatever they're doing there is right, but at least there's something they could fall back on. But as an international student myself, I have nothing to fall back on unless if I fight to get a job on campus and work directly with the university. And those campus jobs are hard to get. There's not too many jobs to meet the number of international students we have on campus. There are thousands of international students on campus with just hundreds of jobs. So again, now we're forced to go to Sodexo. And Sodexo, as a third-party company, don't pay us well. And just like I said earlier, we don't have anything to fall back on. If we receive like a social security benefit or some kind of benefit, maybe we'll be like, oh, this benefit we're receiving might cover up for what we're missing out from our job. But we don't have any of those resources or anything like that.
Before we continue with further questions or comments, I want to remind that while this conversation is a good thing, that some of these conversations can happen outside and continue this discussion in a broader scale to propose a comprehensive action that the Senate can take as a whole. So I would ask if, for the remainder of the time, if there are only questions, if there are any remaining questions for the senator. Any remaining questions? Then thank you so much. We'll proceed onwards to vacancies. Sadly, we have a new vacancy. So sadly, our great era of first time in 5 years has come to an end. Unfortunately, I received a resignation last night from a Res Life senator. So in 2 weeks' time, we will have a election for a residential life senator. I encourage the fellow members of the body to go and reach out to people to run for residential life in 2 weeks. With that being said, we'll go on to new business. We do not have any new business, so we'll go on to old business, which we have the sustainability fee resolution, which was motioned by President Royger and seconded by Senator Narala. President Royger, would you like to speak on your motion?
Alright, so again, it's, this resolution just calls and says that we approve a sustainability fee for this campus to work towards being a more environmentally aware campus and to help reduce carbon footprints and everything. And then it also, a lot of this just spells out the system policy in a more clear sense. And then within here, it discusses establishing a committee that would look into this fee and do the research and do the work towards recommending what the fee should be set at. And of course, we also included a initial limit of $12, which is 60% of the $20 fee. However, for the first year, if the recommendation comes in where it's for less than $12, then that's what it would be. It wouldn't be $12 initially. And then this is for any sustainability measures that the campus can take, and then it includes with the sustainability coordinator position, that would be a student position, similar to how there's the student allocations chair. It would be the same with the coordinator. The coordinator would be the chair of the committee, the coordinator would be through student government and all that. And it includes making sure that if there's any increase that's more than 2%, that has to go to a student referendum, so all students have a chance to say whether or not they approve of the increase. So,
would the second, Senator Narala, wish to speak on the resolution?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Speaker Roberts. I know there were a couple of questions last week about some federal grants. We're establishing a committee that could look into those federal grants that senators were talking about last week. We're also spearheading a committee that will look into sustainable projects that have been brought forward to student government over the past years. And kind of highlighting the need for the budget to the student body as a whole. And with that, there's also an amendment proposal to the resolution that I'd like to introduce to the fifth, whereas we would remove the wording creation of a sustainability coordinator position. And then right after the sixth be it resolved, we're proposing a be it resolved clause that would read, SFAC shall elect a committee chair who shall serve as the liaison between the SFAC and other stakeholders. Right below the clause, be it further resolved, the SFAC chair shall develop and implement comprehensive plans and strategic goals to promote sustainable measures and projects throughout the campus, similar to the duties, responsibilities, and benefits of other student government coordinators of the Student Government Expanded Cabinet.
All right, I have heard a motion to put forth an amendment. I do ask if you can bring that around so I can get the exact language over. Can you note where in the be it resolves you are putting this language?
We're adding the be it resolved right after the fifth be it resolved.
Thank you. Is there a second on this motion? Seconded by Senator Goma. With that, we are now in discussion of the amendment. While we're in discussion, can I get this so I can write down this exact language? Are there any discussion points on the amendment? Senator Revere?
I have a question. Is this like, because it says sustainability fee, or is it a sustainability fee committee? Are we trying to get money for sustainability, or are we just creating a committee to look over it? Both?
Mm-hmm.
I suppose I should yield it to questions. Senator Narala, would you like to answer that question?
Yeah, the resolution would broadly address some of the issues that have been addressed over the previous years of formulating a sustainability fee as a whole. And the student government is supporting the formulation of the sustainability fee while also writing out in words that we're formulating a committee that would spearhead projects that could be funded through that sustainability fee.
Senator Dietrich?
So for this sustainability committee, who would all be on this committee?
Senator Narala, would you like to answer that question?
I would. I don't have the resolution in front of me, but the idea is that we would have 5 students appointed by the student government president, 1 appointed by the environment committee. Thank you. And then 3 university administration that would constitute the committee as a whole.
Are there any other questions? All right, then we will go on to discussion points on the amendment. Are there any discussion points on the amendment? Senator Oladeji?
Yes, so I know we talked about this in the Academic Affairs Committee, but I just want to reemphasize on the point again about the rigorous steps and protocol that goes into getting the people, the committee that is going to work in this budget. Because this is a huge amount of sum of money, and the student trusts us to utilize it properly for the betterment of the university. And we don't want to put people who have zero experience or knowledge about economics and handling funds, as well as handling the issues that has to do with why the fund was being created in the first place in that position. So while getting people on board, there should be a set of protocols and rigorous steps that goes into making sure the people are qualified and well knowledgeable about what the fee is all about, and then allocating it in the right places. So that's just my main point, because it has to be effective enough to uphold the integrity of why it was demanded from the student in the first place.
Are there other discussions, Senator Revere?
I just want to ask the founders of this resolution, what's the whole point you want out of your committee, that you want to get out of it, like the whole point of even starting a new sustainability committee?
President Roiger?
Yeah, so the whole point is to have a specific fee that works towards the sustainability measures of our campus. And so...
Can you provide examples of that?
Yeah, it's... Sorry, I'm loading the resolution. It's the... So it could include, so a little bit would go towards the green fee, which right now covers all of our bus stuff. So we could take a little bit of the bus over and help, it would help with that. And then if there's other smaller scale sustainability things, that's where they would help. And then the committee in general would be able to do the research and dedicate the time to finding these new sustainability measures that we could introduce on our campus. And then I'll yield to my second if they've got
Yeah,
additional.
thank you. Yeah, to expand a little bit more on that, we're looking into maybe helping a little bit with the busing contract so that way we can increase the bus routes that go around. That would help the students as a whole. We're looking into a bunch of different sustainable projects that have come up to Senate over the past years. Just to name one would be the solar panel projects that the committee could be looking into. The committee could also be looking into maybe resources that other projects and spaces across campus have been looking forward to, so maybe federal grants, funds that they could utilize. And so that way we're equipping a committee to look into those projects and be able to utilize the sustainable fee funds in order to achieve those strategic goals that the campus is envisioning.
And I have another question on like, so do you need money to do research and do all that stuff? Do you have to have money to look on the computer and do research?
Would you like to answer? President Riker?
So the fee would go towards the actual sustainable measures we would take. That's the main goal of the sustainability fee, and the committee just helps recommend what that money is used towards. And there's 2 other campuses for sure that have already gotten it introduced and have it in their fee list and have done work with it, and that's Moorhead and Bemidji, and that's just off the top of my head of who I know. But yeah.
And one more question.
Sarah Revere?
Can I get you guys' definition of what sustainability is to you guys? Like, that way we can know where the money's going and stuff like that, or have any idea of what do you guys, your definition of what you're trying to do?
President Riker?
We're trying to improve our environmental awareness, making sure we're not taking away or like adding to like the carbon footprint in general, like making sure our pollution is not over the top, those sort of things. Sorry, I can't think off the top of my head how just the sustainability definition, but that would be the goal of the committee. So, yeah.
How do you measure that, your carbon footprint or any of that sustainability that we plan on giving money to? Like, how do you measure that stuff of like what's sustainable?
Senator Darnell? I'm sorry, Senator Speltz?
That's fine. Can I speak on your behalf for this? Okay. So sustainability is really important on our campus, and the reason that this is even being introduced in the first place is we only have one Earth, and anything that we're contributing to the carbon emissions that are going up into the atmosphere are really bad for us and things like that.
Where did you read that?
I'm going to ask for a little bit of order here to allow Senator Speltz to finish.
And I mean, the more stuff we do to preserve what we already have going on is really important, and we're just trying to make it easier to do that without having so much stuff to focus on. And yeah, I know that it's kind of scary to trust other people to determine those budgets and things like that, and I understand the protocol situation, but I also think that people who would want to be on that committee are informed enough to make those decisions, and they wouldn't put themselves in a position where they wouldn't understand what they're doing.
Alrighty, Senator Godswell?
My concern, or should I say question, is with this fee be added to student fees, and if yes, have you considered getting this money from a different, should I say, department or somehow than just add increased student fee with these extra fees?
Would you like to yield for to President Reiger?
Yes.
President Reiger?
Yes, so it would go under student fees. I mean, that's really the only place we can put it, and that's the only way we can, that's where it's, like, intended to come from. And I'll let my second speak a little bit more on it.
Senator Narala?
Could I get the question one more? Was it a question or was it a discussion point?
Senator Godswell, would you like to restate your question?
Sure. My question is, this fee you guys are trying to introduce, would that be added to student fee? And if yes, have you considered getting this money from a different department or somehow rather than adding it to student fee? Because currently I know there are students that are having difficulty paying the school fees that they have to pay. Adding more fee I don't think would be bucket friendly for students.
Yeah, certainly. To answer your question, and I could yield to John.
Thank you, Senator Narala. To give you all a little bit of perspective on this, the sustainability fee is something that came up because many campuses put, for example, we call it the green transportation fee, as it's been known. That's how it's been known on our campus, and that's paid for your busing services, okay? And so that is a significant cost. That cost that was incorporated into the student activity fee was about $400,000 a year, okay? Or that's what the request was coming in at. What that did is that put you at the cap for your student activity fee, considering something that wasn't a student activity, okay? And so it put pressure on your activity fee. And what has happened is the Board of Trustees at their meeting in May and June approved the institution of a sustainability fee that would allow for things like that to be moved out of the student activity fee so that your student activity fee is truly for student activities rather than transportation, okay? So that's one of the things. So you're asking a good question, Senator Godswill. The intent behind this is to relieve some of the pressure that you are facing on your student activity fee for something that is still considered very, very important to students. And I can tell you that my experience in working with Mr. Cowan, who oversees the transportation costs and things like that, he has left no stone unturned in trying to find resources to cover the cost. And so that's what this is doing. So this is something that, that's the intent behind what the Board of Trustees has done. Does that help explain a little bit about where things are? So yes, this is a new fee, but it was intended to move something that you're already paying for into a separate fee, okay? Rather than having it lumped in with your student activity fee.
To note, I do have an order. I have Senator Cussum, then Godswell, then Senator Revere, and then Senator Bryant. So, you don't want any more? Okay. Senator Godswell?
That's a quick question. Does that mean the student activities fund will be decreased? Since we're moving this out of the student activity, does that mean your fund will be decreased?
Okay, what you're likely to encounter is that removing this from the student activity fee will provide some decrease to that, but also, like I said, what you were facing is due to inflationary costs, there was need to be able to fit some more things under there. So some of the student activity fee will go away, but there will be some increases in some other area. Will it be $400,000 worth? I doubt it, at least right away. Okay, it might take several years to get to that, but you're gonna see some things be able to be funded that weren't because you were right at the cap. So the student activity fee cap was increased, but it'll go down some, but there'll be some other things that push it up just a little bit more, but not quite to that $400,000 range is how I would interpret it. And I think Mark might agree that that's kind of where we are with the student activity fee.
Senator Revere?
I got a question for the founders of the resolution. So was this you guys' resolution or was this the Board of Trustees resolution?
Would you like to yield to President Reiger or Senator Narala?
Yes.
President Reiger?
This is our resolution, we have to approve the establishment of the sustainability fee according to the system policy. So each student government or student association on all 7 campuses for sure have to be the ones to say, yes, we're okay with this happening. And then, yeah, that's pretty much what it follows.
So it was their idea for the sustainable fee. That's what I was asking. It was and you're just bringing it to us, the students.
I yield strong.
Students United, your statewide student government association, helped push for this. Our student leadership last year was pushing for it because we were at that cap for the student activity fee. We weren't the only campus that was at some fee caps or very close to it, and so they were looking to help provide some relief there, and so they advocated for this, which the Board of Trustees passed at the students' urging.
Sir Brian?
Just a friendly amendment, I guess, or a discussion. I was wondering if we could have someone from parking and transportation on that committee, since it will be about bus and.
I have a friendly amendment on adding something. Can we get some specific language?
Someone from parking and transportation.
One member from parking and transportation. Is that friendly amendment accepted by President Royger and Senator Narala?
May I comment?
Yes.
You could leave that flexibility, because my guess is that among those 3 administrators that are named, that are listed as just 3 administrators, my guess is it's most likely gonna include him. Okay, I don't think you have to make it, I don't think you have to specify it with, he's gonna be the expert and probably be one of those that's appointed to the committee in most sensible ways, so. You could specify it, but I don't think it's necessary, to be honest with you. Your call.
Was the friendly amendment accepted? The friendly amendment is not accepted. Is there a second to the amendment then? Or is the amendment withdrawn?
There's a second.
There's a second on the amendment of adding the specified language of 1 member of parking and transportation. This will be recorded as amendment number 2. We do have an amendment 1, but we will shift over to amend the discussion of amendment 2, adding 1 member of parking and transportation. Motion by Senator Bryant and seconded by Senator Godswell. We are now in discussion of the second amendment on 1 member of parking and transportation. Are there any discussion points on amendment 2? Senator Poppenhagen.
With that amendment, a condition upon the 3 elected school officials, or would that be an entire another member added on to the 8 people already set aside to be added to, or 9 people set aside to be elected?
Would you like to yield to President Royger or the amendment motioner of Senator Bryant?
Yes, yield to the amendment motioner.
Senator Bryant?
I didn't hear anything.
Senator Poppenhagen, do you mind repeating?
Would you like for the extra member to be considered an entire another individual added to the list of members for the committee, or instead add that as a condition upon one of the other members of the committee?
I was thinking an additional one, but they were saying that if we added someone else, it would be even, so voting would be off.
Are there any other discussion points on the amendment? Any other discussion points? Then seeing no discussion points, we will be voting on the amendment to add 1 member, specified 1 member of parking and transportation. With a raise of placards, to note, you can vote yes, no, or abstain by a raise of placards. Those voting yes, please raise your placards or hands at this time. Yes, this is a vote, currently whether to vote yes on 1 member of parking and transportation being added. All opposed? All abstentions? In a vote of 17, 1 to 5, the amendment is adopted. The language will add one member of parking and transportation to be included to the membership of SPAC. With that, we will revert back to Amendment 1, which proposed the striking of creation of a sustainability coordinator position in the whereas clauses, and states, be it resolved, SPAC will elect a committee chair who will serve as a liaison between the SPAC and other stakeholders. Be it further resolved, the SPAC chair shall develop and implement comprehensive plans and strategic goals to promote sustainable measures and projects throughout the campus, similar to the duties, responsibilities, and benefits of other student government coordinators of the Student Government Expanded Cabinet. With that, we are now in discussion of Amendment 1. Are there any discussion points? Senator Ziti.
Yeah, so from what I'm seeing, there's only one project that the committee is responsible for, because I don't see that there is another project that's coming up. So for this reason, don't you guys think the formation of the committee is just it doesn't have a point? So that then after a year or so, if we have other projects added, you can have a committee formed?
Would you like to yield to the President Reuger?
Right now, there's a lot of things that are in talks, though, that we'd like to get ahead of and be able to have that discussion be ready to go and have the committee already established so that that's not an issue right when we get to those sustainability projects. We don't want there to be an issue where, you know, they talk about this project, they come to a bunch of different groups, but then they just ultimately do something different than the recommendations of the groups, whereas this can be one group that has numerous representatives ready to go and is a better resource and a better use of of people. So we want it just ready to go so that when we do get there, because there's a lot of stuff being talked about at least, and we want to just be ready to go.
Senator Ziti?
So what's going to be our expense for this specific committee? It's going to get out of the, do you know exactly how much it's going to be that we're going to be spending on the committee? Do you know?
Would you like to yield to President Reuger to answer that question?
Yes. We don't know right now. That's the goal of the committee, is to figure out what the potential expenses could look like, and then to look into those other funding options as well as this. So
I know that I will add you to the speakers list. Senator Revere?
I just want to state that I'm all for creating the committee, but actually just already assigning them a budget or any type of money. I don't think for some have to like she said before she left, she said something about we have one Earth or carbon footprint. Half of us don't even know our carbon footprint. Can anybody tell me how much your emissions your car emitted this morning? We don't know that. So the whole point of this is just save the Earth is. We don't know how we're saving the Earth to that. You can't tell me your carbon footprint, I can't tell you mine. So I think it's BS, to be honest. But having a committee to try to find out how we can be more sustainable, yeah, maybe, but everything else is just
Alrighty, Senator Ziti?
Yeah, just pointing on that. So so we have an expense just for this committee, right? So why don't we just save that money for the one project that needs the money right now? Then after the success of the project, we can then create the committee to then resolve other environmental issues. Is that a question or comment? You can say.
Okay. Would you like to yield to President Reuger? President Reuger?
right now, we don't know what the expense of that committee is, and so that's what the committee would do, is figure out that expense. What we know right now is what the cap for the student fee part of it would be. And that cap is set at $20 banded per semester. We don't want to be going near that $20 right away. And then for the rest, I'll yield to John.
John, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam President and Speaker Roberts. I'm going to draw a little bit of a comparison here. Okay, you have several fee committees across campus that propose different fees. Okay, you have the Student Athlete Advisory Committee, the Student Athletics Fee Advisory Committee. You have the Student Union Board. You have the Student Health Services Fee Advisory Committee. Okay, those groups help develop the various fees and then they present them to student government for a recommendation. Okay, what this is doing is establishing the Sustainability Committee, or SVEC, or the language that's used there. And what that committee will do is review the request, put together the budget, and then propose to student government the sustainability fee. Okay? So it's establishing a committee, just like some of those that are already established right now, for the purpose of proposing that fee. They'll do the dirty work. Okay? And they'll present the stuff. They'll go through hours and hours of preparation, research, determining what's going on, what things are going to cost. And then they'll put it into a nice little package for you, okay? That should be pretty easy for you to look at and go, okay, it looks like they've done their due diligence. This looks good. You have the ability to approve and recommend what they request for the fee, or you have the ability to make a modification to it. And you'll do that with 5 budgets come this spring. What this is doing is this is adding that one. Okay, so this is something that this motion is. I want to encourage you not to go too far off into the weeds. This is something new that we're going to learn about as things get going, but that's the intent. This committee is going to do the dirty work for you, put together a proposal that you're going to have the opportunity to rubber stamp, thumbs up, or make a tweak to. Okay, and so that's the real intent here. So that's what this is doing. We don't know all the specifics. That's what you're establishing the committee to do, is to come up with the specifics.
Okay. Senator Jagwe?
Yes, I'm also thinking that as a student government, we have to always work in favor of students if something is not misleading in terms of the university policies. In this case, we must establish that this sustainability fee is actually going to sustain the students, if I'm to borrow the same words. So instead of looking at a situation like John talked about, reducing the student activity charge and then introducing a sustainable fee, but we should look at the advantage. Is it, at the end of the day, reducing on the burden on the side of the students? If not, as a student government or student board, I believe we have so many other ways we can think of. Maybe we could try to look out for funds from any other entities. As a student body, we could maybe source out a potential company, a potential organization that could contribute towards this cause, and we do that, and this could stay as potential donors throughout time and keep donating to this specific cause without necessarily affecting the pocket of the students, and that would be credible, you know.
Senator Aladeji?
So I have a question now. I am not getting exactly what this fee. I have an idea before when we talked about it, what the fee was supposed to be used for, which is for things that the current student activities fees cannot cover. Apparently, the feel I'm getting now is that it's a fee that is mostly created in a separate way such that it can fund the busing system, right? And then you said there's a minimum of, maximum of $12, right? We have, I think, maybe 14,000 students or 15,000 students. Doing the math, that does not even match close to the $400,000 that John was talking about. So how exactly is that solving sustainability if the numbers are not matching? And then secondly, you said it was going to be used for a lot of things. Apparently now it's boiling down just to the buses alone. So I think there's some shortcomings in the due diligence in the process of that aspect.
Do you yield?
Yeah.
So the sustainability fee, part of it would be the buses, and then there's other projects that would be helped with this fee. So the buses is just one example of what we could do. Now we know it can't cover the full $400,000 the very first year. Like, that is not the goal, to just surcharge students. If Senator,
Do you wish to yield to Senator Narala? Senator Narala?
Yeah, the idea is that there are projects across campus that we could fund through with the sustainability fee. Now, one of those examples could be lending support to the green transportation fee that we have under student activities, but we aren't looking entirely to house busing under sustainability fee. It could be one of the things that the committee could research into, maybe look at all of the pros and cons, think about maybe funneling some money over to the busing contract so that way students are able to have more buses run during winter times and stuff. But those would just be some ideas that the committee could be looking into. And now I know our conversations are going off on a lot of tangents of how these funds are being used, but our idea is that we are decentralizing it into the committee, and we're tasking the committee to look into it, and we aren't deciding it for them, or we're not deciding all of the projects that the committee could be looking into, if that answers your question.
Senator Revere?
Well, I just want to, let me just say it again. But anyway, like he was saying about the fee, like it just the committee, okay, but the actual trying to push the committee and the fee at the same time, I think it's a no-go until we, like, so I would like to probably motion, refer that to a committee, that aspect of the amendment to the committee, because I think a lot of us are lost on the point of the money problem, because me, honestly, I don't want to add an extra fee to my tuition, to have extra recycling bins just so they can be burned at the same plant. Because, like, if you can't tell me what are you being sustained for, or, like, what's the actual purpose, to get more solar panels that has a bigger carbon footprint than the BMW I drive right now to create? Like, what are we being sustainable if we are all being honest? Like, so at the actual committee, having the committee there to look up projects and stuff like that, okay, but giving them an actual budget and a fee now, a possible budget and a fee now, I don't agree with. And I don't think a lot of students will agree with.
All right, I have a motion from you. Am I correct on that?
Cause are we voting on this amendment today?
Yes.
Well, can we just refer this to a joint committee instead of voting on actually getting this amendment passed altogether? That way we all can have a better understanding. Cause right now it look like somebody's trying to
Yep. To note, if we were to refer this to a joint committee, I would prefer if we were to handle the amendment 1 and at least vote on the amendment 1 before that we do that, just for cleaning things up. But if we do refer it down to a committee, it would need to be passed then at that committee. And I would need to be a specific committee. As joint committee is not a specific committee.
Well,
it would need to be like student affairs, academic affairs.
Student affairs and academic affairs, since everybody that's in student government are in both committees. So the committee with everybody in it.
Okay.
Both student and both academic, since it's all of us in it.
So I have a motion to refer it to both student affairs and academic affairs. Yes, I have. I'll go ahead and yield to John for a moment here.
Your amendment's on the, your amendment is the primary motion on the table, so you go ahead and clear that up first, and then entertain the motion.
Cool, thank you. We have that motion on the table and will come following the completion of Amendment 1, whatever happens there, or further amendments. With that being said, that motion is on the table. I do want to quickly clarify, just for convenience sake, is there a second on that motion? Okay, I see multiple seconds on that motion to refer. Okay. With that, we will continue on in the discussion of Amendment 1. I had Senator Godswell next on the discussion points.
I just wanted to add to what he says, when it comes to the funding, I just should put a hold, or should I say a break to that while we figure this whole thing out properly and not just rush. Because again, we got to remember one thing which is important, that we're representing the student, and whatever decision we make is going to affect each and every student, not just ourselves directly or indirectly. And you want to put the consideration of other students paying for this stuff, not just yourself or what you think personally that this project would do, but also consider that, hey, there are kids out there, for just like I said it earlier, struggling to pay this tuition. Adding, it might sound like a minimum $20, but just when you add that $20 to the thousands you're paying already, it's a stress, it's depressing, and you don't want to put other students into a situation where they'll be like, hey, I voted for you to stand for me, to consider me and at least make my schooling year affordable, not making it more expensive.
Alrighty, Senator Narral.
Amendment called to question.
Hold on, I need to check for quorum.
Sounds good.
15. We do not have quorum then.
15's not counting.
I do not count. We are below the threshold. We unfortunately do not have quorum to conduct any more business pertaining any of this resolution anymore. We will be on hold on this unless we can get any senator to return to the chamber. Would there be willingness to motion for a brief recess in attempt to get another senator here?
Motion to recess 10 minutes.
10 minutes. Is there a second? I see a second.
Well,
Is there any dissent? Seeing sufficient dissent.
Motion withdrawn. Points of information. What is the quorum required?
Quorum is 19.
Motion to adjourn the meeting. Motion to move over to final roll call and move the business over until next meeting.
I have a motion for immediate adjournment. Is there a second? Seeing a second. Is there any dissent? Seeing.
Motion to move over to announcement. Yes. Motion to adjourn. Motion to move over to announcements.
All right. I have a motion to move to announcements and hold this until further. Is there a second? Is there any dissent? Seeing no dissent, we will proceed onwards to announcements.
Okay, we're gonna.
Yes.
We're gonna speed run the homecoming thing. Homecoming, we are halfway through homecoming week. Woo! Tonight at 7 p.m., Sexy Jeopardy is in Austrian Auditorium. Tomorrow at 1 o'clock is office decorating judging. I know student government is doing one. I don't know when you guys are decorating. You are shaking your heads no. So we, instead of 21 offices, we have 20 offices that are doing office decorating. Tomorrow night at 7 p.m. is lip sync. Get there at 6 or earlier if you want a spot. If you don't want a spot, then no, don't go. 9 acts. It's gonna be fantastic. Lip sync. Everything is it's everybody's favorite. Royalty crowning will take place after lip sync on Fridays. The Kidding concert tickets are $5 still available at mnsuevents.com. Doors are at 8. Concerts at 9. Saturday at 9 a.m. Pancake breakfast in CSU Mall. The parade lineup is at 9 a.m. as well, and judging is at 10:30. Parade starts at 11 a.m. and it runs from the corner of Maywood and Warren to Lot 22. And finally, the homecoming dance is at 7 p.m. in the ballroom.
John?
Ryan covered a lot very well, so some of the new stuff that you're going to see, the Mavericks on the Mall is going to be very exciting this year. So the Pancake Breakfast has not been well publicized to students before, and that was a directive or an initiative of our current president who wanted to see the event more student-friendly and available. Other things, obviously, you have on Takeover coming up. RSO deadline was Monday, and I've been doing the off-campus housing renting 101 sessions. I encourage people to do that. And if it's okay, I don't like seeing Senator Revere leaving because I was going to ask, would it be all right with executive leadership if I hang out and try to explain some of this stuff after meeting, kind of off the camera? It's not part of a business discussion, but it's like trying to help you understand a little bit more, because many of you were not around when this conversation happened last year. Okay, and I can't articulate it 100%, but I can try to get you to understand what's going on, because it's not as this motion should kind of be a formality that you're talking about. okay? It's not something as new as you're thinking it is. It's moving something around is what it's doing. Is really what it's doing. So I'd like to try to take, if that's all right with executive leadership, once that gavel wraps, I can stick around and try to answer questions, explain it in terminology that you might understand. Does that work?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Are there any other announcements? Seeing none, I will go ahead and do
Motion.
I hear a motion.
Motion to waive second roll call.
Technically, I would not be able to take that as we do not have quorum. So, no. Senator Henson, Senator Kissam, Senator Frawling, Senator Ali, Senator Sharaf, Senator Woldakainen, Senator Ziti, Senator Nguyen, Senator Bryant,
Here.
Senator Mahiga, Senator Kanza,
Here.
Senator Gama,
Here.
Senator Mohammed,
Here.
Senator Aladeji, Senator Lysico,
Hi.
Senator Andry, Senator Dietrich,
Yo.
Senator Revere, Senator Godswell, Senator Bahanu, Senator Kriti, Senator Jagwe, Senator Parikh, Senator Narala,
Aye.
Senator Svelts, Senator Beckerman, Senator Colleran, Senator Poppenhagen, Speaker Roberts here, President Roiger,
Here.
Vice President Mesta. Here. We are adjourned at 6:09 p.m.
If you'd like to gather around and talk about this or listen real quick, I can try to explain some stuff.
Oh, I love this. Yeah. Like that is fun.